married. It's getting to the time of year where people do top 10 lists on YouTube, so that's exactly what I'm going to be doing today. I've looked through the draft sets of the year and I've ranked them. Looked at anything that's been released on paper and looked at anything which has been released on Magic Arena as a draft set this year for the first time. Things like the mystery boosters, which were re-released to stores this year with the convention edition, I won't be including because they weren't. That wasn't the first release; it was just re-released this year. But there's quite a lot of other things to go look at. It's gonna be top 8 because there was 8 draft sets that are going to come into here, and it's very, very much my own personal views on which sets were good and which sets weren't as good. Although actually, there's no bad sets at all. I don't think, not from a draft perspective. There was some which weren't as good, and I think the bottom half of this list are fairly interchangeable. I think the top 2 that I've got, places 1, place 2, are definitely place 1 and place 2 for me. But the rest, the other 6 here, are going to be a little bit more chop and changeable. And there's probably people out there who will disagree entirely with what I'm saying. And that's fine because this is my personal opinion. And I'll be giving you the reasons why I think this. There is only 8, like I say, because there was a lot. I did a top 10 last year, but there was a lot more sets released last year. We had Kaladesh remastered, we had Amonkhet remastered, we had Double Masters, we had Commander Legends, we had Mystery Booster in paper as well. So there was lots and lots and lots of sets last year. For all, we've got an extra standard set this year, but I think there was just more sets released last year, and the remastered ones on Arena are particularly good. And for that reason, I do have an honourable mention as the honourable 9th place, and that is Pioneer Masters, or Pioneer Remastered, or whatever you want to call it, because I think this was a big oversight by Wizards. I think not necessarily not putting out Pioneer Masters. I know why that wasn't something which they were. It's why it's been sidelined a little bit. I understand the reasons behind that, but we could have at least had something new on Arena like this. We had the new Jumpstart, which is fine. We had a few Commander Anthologies, which is fine as well. We also had the Strixhaven Mystical Archives that come to Historic, which was cool addition and a good way to do that. But I think they could have at least squeezed one extra set out here, which was draftable and a new draft format that could be put on Arena. I think they really, really missed a trick with that. So that's why I put this as the honourable mention, because with getting 2 last year, as well as some other bits and pieces, we had the Jumpstart last year. Yes, there was a new Jumpstart this year, but it was also Jumpstart last year. I'm just surprised that they didn't kind of monopolise on this, and I think it's a bit of a shame that we didn't have this. Another one which I'm going to throw in here as an honourable mention, which I've literally just thought about, is the Arena Opens. Having limited Arena Opens, I think that deserves a shout out. I think that deserves a shout out in a more positive manner. So thank you for putting the Arena Opens on. It was a really, really good addition, even if it didn't do particularly well. I think including limited in these formats is just a plus for us limited players out there. So thank you for that one, Wizards. Anyway, before we get into the full rankings and this actual top 8, I do want to give everybody a thank you who support the channel this year, who's watched the videos, who've liked the videos, who've clicked that subscribe button. I've went from 62 or 63 subscribers last December to 205 at last count. So thank you so much, more than tripled my subscriber score, and I'm really, really, really appreciative. Thank you, everybody. Anyway, let's get into it. Number 8 is going to be probably the first controversial decision out of all of these. It's Caldheim. So Caldheim it was a little bit problematic for me. I think the snow, whilst being cool and whilst being really interesting, was problematic because it meant that anybody who was drafting snow and they got the open snow lane, then they could just take out any good cards because the fixing in snow was so good. And if you weren't drafting snow, you basically had to just draft red-white aggro. It was the main way to do it. There was other things to do. The black green elves came together sometimes, and it was really cool when that happened. You had the green white aggro kind of happened as well, but often that ended up being snow aggro anyway. So if you weren't doing that, it just got really messy. If you just opened nothing but snow plains, which happened from time to time, I think you struggle as well. But actually, I think a lot of these things come down to it was a set which really suffered from not having pod drafts. So everybody seemed to draft it on Arena because there was a pandemic going on, and that Arena wasn't the best place to draft this. I think it was a much better pod draft set. Once we're allowed to draft in paper, I did do one draft of this in paper, and I think it was a lot better in the pod environment. I think it suffered from Arena. So that's the reasons why I think it's number 8. I think it was still a good set. I would still happily go back and draft it again, particularly if it was in paper, but it wasn't quite there for me. So Caldheim is number 8. Number 7 is Adventures in the Forgotten Realms, and I think this would be a lot of people's bottom place. I don't think it was quite as bad as people say. I think that was part of the reason why I put Caldheim in the bottom, because I don't think this was quite last. I think it'd be a bit of a meme to put this in last place as well. But I think, yes, okay, the draft was unbalanced. Blue was virtually unplayable, although it has some really, really strong rares, but the flavour was really on point. And I've never really played Dungeons and Dragons before, and I didn't realise there was so much lore and so many of these legendary characters appeared in Dungeons and Dragons, and it really opened my eyes. It made me, I hadn't still not played it, but it made me kind of more interested in playing it, more up for doing a Dungeons and Dragons campaign sometime. And I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was fun. I thought dice rolling, although it didn't quite hit, it was slightly underpowered. I think it was still a good way to implement it. I remember at one of the preview events, I got hit with the Infinite Delinas, which was hilarious, or Infinite Pixie Guides. But yeah, that was hilarious and a really, really fun way to play it. They've got to be careful with these dials. It could easily have been overpowered. So I think they did play it safe a little bit. But I think it was a really, really fun set. Just, it struggled a little bit on some of the balance issues, and red-black was a little bit too strong. And again, it had the similar issue where the red-black player could play a double-pipped off-colour rare because it was just so easy to fix using all these treasures. So, Adventures in the Forgotten Realm, number 7, I think it is a little bit unjustly hated compared to the other sets this year. I think it's a lot closer to the rest of the sets than a lot of people give it credit for, but I still quite enjoyed it. Number 6 is an unusual one on 2 counts. It's the Ravnica Mixer. So, I nearly forgot about this set actually, and I didn't actually play it. I'm going to hold my hands up and say I didn't actually play it, but I included it on this list. I've heard from a couple of people who did play it and they quite enjoyed it. But the main reason I'm included on the list is it's because it's something different that they've done on Arena. It needed to be included on the list somewhere, and I think that's why I've put it so high. I've put it, above these other 2 real sets, because it's quite easy to do this on Arena. They can put these mishmash of sets up. To put cubes up from time to time, although I'm sad that we didn't have a cube on Arena this Christmas. And I think we've seen a little bit less of cubes this year than we did last year. I'm sure we saw them a little bit more last year. But regardless, I think the Ravnica Mixer was a really good addition. I don't have a huge amount to say on it, but I want to see more of this stuff. I want to see more kind of throwaway events just like this. I think the Decathlon, although it's not for me, is a really cool idea as well. And I just want to see them experiment a bit more, especially in the Draftscape on Arena. Number 5 is our current draft set. It is Crimson Vow. This set is really known for being bomb heavy. This arguably makes it less repeatable, so it stops it from feeling a little bit like some of the other sets where a lot of the synergy happens at common, and a lot of the power comes from the commons and the uncommons, where you're going to open these commons and uncommons or somebody will open these commons and uncommons every game, and it's just a question of how many Organ Hoarder they get or something like that. But I think the bombs are a little bit too overpowered. It seems to be that whenever I find an open colour in this one, I don't get the removal to come with it, or just, when you do open a bad rare, it feels really bad, because, if you open one of the dual lands, instead of opening one of these busted rares on mythics, and there's a lot of busted rares in the set as well, just absolutely busted rares, not even mythics. Toxtrol's fine, it's a 7-cost mythic, but, there's some really, really strong rares. I think that does pull it down a little bit, but it is a really good flavour set. Being Innistrad, the flavour's definitely there, and I think I'm not bored of it yet. I'm still enjoying playing it, and I think that goes a lot of the way to making it a fun set, because the sets that you don't draft as much, you tend to look back on with more fondness. So I think that does affect it as well. So number 5 is Crimson Vow. Number 4 to go alongside with Crimson Vow is Midnight Hunt, and these two I've really struggled actually with which one's going to be 4 and which one's going to be 5. But I went for Midnight Hunt. I think I preferred the less bomb heavy version, although I can see why some people like the rares and how that makes drafts feel different a lot of the time. But there's only so many times you can die to Toxtrol, let's be honest. Also, Midnight Hunt was drafted less. I think the colours were more unbalanced. Red-green was fairly awful. I think that's generally agreed, but we didn't get draft Midnight Hunt for as much because it was only out for a 2-month window instead of a 3.5 month window like we usually get. So I think that really, really makes us look back and fonder. I would much more happily go and draft a Midnight Hunt draft rather than another Crimson Vow draft, just because it's a set that we haven't drafted as much. I don't think it was perfect. Like I say, this and Crimson Vow were very interchangeable for me. I'm quite looking forward to the double feature, although I think they've obviously handled it wrong. I agree with a lot of people. It shouldn't have just been slap all the cards in the set. It should have been a little bit curated. I will be doing a video in January on what I think is going to be happening with the archetypes between these two sets, and with double feature I think there's some interesting analysis to be done there, so I'm looking forward to going through the cards and seeing which archetypes are going to get stronger or weaker going into double feature. But I think both these sets are really, really good and deservedly mid-table sets. Number 3 is going to be the last standard set of the year, and this is Strixhaven. So Strixhaven, I could see why some people might not like it, but for me, it had a couple of really good things going for it. I liked the fact you could do big spells. I think that was really interesting. I think Lesson Learn was a really, really, really good mechanic. I think that was a really... It was strong, yes, okay, but it made the drafts quite interesting. Okay, it might have made them a bit more samey. You see environmental sciences a lot, things like that. But I think it was good, like, kind of smoothing mechanic and a good way to get some good value out. And finally, the Mystical Archives was a really, really good hit. I think being able to include these in the draft, none of them seemed massively overpowered. Electrolyze was strong, but no stronger than most rares. It was a good rare, but it was no stronger than a lot of rares. You had things like Channel in there, which could be busted, but generally wasn't. And I don't think any of the Mystical Archives felt really, really busted, and just added another little bit of replayability to the set. So I think that was a cool addition, and something I was quite happy to see. And I think there was just enough different things going on in Strixhaven to make it stand out from the pack a little bit more. But again, I think up to 3, but kind of between place 6 and place 3, the draft sets are very, very interchangeable in how I would rank them. And if you didn't agree that Strixhaven was a good set, that's fine. Let us know in the comments, and I'll happy to have a discussion with you, because it's personal opinion. It's absolutely personal opinion. However, these next two, top place 1, place 2, were definitely place 1 and place 2, and let's have a look at why that is. So number 2 came out right the way back in January. It is Time Spiral Remastered, and this probably does have a bit of rose-tinted glasses on it, because it is a set I didn't draft very many times. I drafted it 3 or 4 times in paper, and it was good fun. A few of my friends had boxes, and when we were allowed to meet again in person, we did some 6-person drafts. I think the store did a 8-person draft when they opened up properly. And it was a good fun set. It was a great fun set. Really, really reminiscent of Time Spiral. It had some of the crazy mechanics, some cool nostalgic throwbacks, some cool flavor wins, and it was a really, really great set. I want to see more of these remastered sets. Time Spiral was a great place to start. I've said it for years. You could just re-release Innistrad, Zendikar, all these sets with really, really good reprints in, which I think is a key point of it, which you don't need to go and design a set. You don't need to remaster them, really. You could, but you don't need to. And, it would be a really, really easy win. You could re-release these sets, print boxes of them, print boxes of 24 boosters or something like that. Maybe even put a slight markup on them. Maybe put some kind of mystical archive in the back. I don't know, but it's a very, very easy way to bring down the price of some staples for people, and also bring out these really good draft sets. Innistrad was a great draft set. Zendikar was apparently a great draft set as well. I've not managed to draft either of these sets. And then, by the time you release these two, you can bring Khans back into things again, because Khans is a really, really good draft in sealed deck format. So, and all of these sets have cards people want to play in constructor formats, in Commander, and I think it would be a really, really good addition to the release schedule to just do something like this. It would be so easy, I think, to do something like this, and I think it deserves to be done more. Coming in at number 1, any guesses so far? There is only really one set left to talk about, and it is a really, really fantastic set. It's my favourite set in a number of years. I think the draft format is incredible, very, very replayable. The archetypes are very deep, but also there's crossover synergies between the archetypes, and it's going to be Modern Horizons 2. You can open fetches in this set. You can open foil fetches, foil old Boros fetches. You can open the monkey as well. The monkey's not busted in limited, which does help a little bit. It's kind of destroyed Modern a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I don't play Modern, so I can't really comment too much on that. But I've heard some horror stories. But Modern Horizons 2 is a fantastic, fantastic limited set. Above all, the synergies were just there. Some of the uncommons, you had gold commons and uncommons. But what didn't feel like a fully gold set, the Artifact Land as commons. The indestructible artifact lands was really cool. You could sacrifice them to some of your sacrifice artifact effects, and they were good fixing. It was just a really, really, really great set. And every time I've drafted it, I've loved it. I've came last a few times, I've came first a few times, but I've found it a really, really interesting set. You sometimes don't know what on earth's going on in the draft, and that pack 3 just comes together and brings everything together. It's got some really cool build around rares. The Academy Manufacturer was just a card which I really, really wanted to draft. Still haven't managed to draft that card, but I want to build that blue-green token instead with the Academy Manufacturer. That would just be my last check off of the set. But Modern Horizons 2, definitely by far and away, by no kind of stretch of the imagination, is my number 1 draft set of the year. I enjoyed it so much, and I think it was a knockout of the park at a fairly reasonable price. Okay, it was a little bit more expensive, but I think it was a good price for a really, really great set. And thank you for this set. It was really, really good. Anyway, that is my sum up of the year. Thank you again to everybody who supported me over the course of the year. It is really, really appreciated. Just seeing those numbers tick up gets you the endorphin release, and it does really, really help me want to put out more videos. I can't really say much more. There's lots of things to look forward to this year. We've already seen the Kawagama preview starting. That looks like it's going to be quite good fun again. Nice flavour in that on again. I'm really looking forward to New Capenna. I'm looking forward to Brothers War. Dominaria United looks quite good as well. And then we've also got another Commander Legends. We've got Double Masters 2 coming out as well. And I'm sure there's going to be more surprises to come as well. So lots of things to look forward to over the next year. Thanks again. Have a happy new year. Hope you've had a good holiday. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye.